Welcome to my tutorial on the ETS16 speed transmission in Euro Truck Simulator 2. I wanted to start by just quickly going over the control settings with you. You'll notice I've got a Logitech G920 wheel. I've got the 3-pedal set along with the H shifter. Then you'll notice right below that I have Arduino Micro. What that is my shifter knob actually has a couple extra toggle buttons on it, and I'll go into those toggle buttons a little further down in the H shifter settings. So let's go ahead and scroll down there. Now you can see I've got in shifter layout, I've got the ZS16 speeds, of course. Shifter layout behavior is set to advanced. Shifter fast split is set to clutch press. There's a few different ways you can set that up, but European trucks do use a clutch press, so that's what we're going to use. Now for the shifter positions, you'll notice in reverse I have absolutely nothing there. If you have something there, just unassign that. Shifter positions 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Shifter toggle 1 and shifter toggle 2, by default there is going to be nothing there, so you're going to want to make sure to set something up here. You are going to want to put these buttons where you can easily access them with one hand on the wheel and one hand on the shifter knob. That's just going to make your shifting a lot easier. Now my shifter toggle 1 is set to this side button on my shifter knob. You'll hear me refer to shifter toggle 1 as the splitter from here on out. My shifter toggle 2 is set to this front button on my shifter knob. You'll hear me refer to that as the range from here on out. Now right below that, you'll notice it says shifter toggles use switch mode. I have that box checked. What that means is that my shifter toggle 1 and shifter toggle 2 use actual toggle switches. If you're using a simple key press, make sure you do leave that box unchecked. And that's pretty much it for the control settings, so let's get right into the shift pattern. Before I grabbed a load and got out on the road, I wanted to show you the shifter layout. If you've ever driven an Eaton Fuller 18 speed in American Truck Simulator, this will be very similar to you. But there are a few differences, so let's jump into the shifter layout. Now, as I'm sitting here, I'm just holding the clutch in because if I let it out, the truck will die. You would of course be clutching in and out as you shift, and you'll notice if I go over to the left and all the way up, there's no gear there. There wouldn't be a shift position in a ZF16 transmission, so there's actually no gear here. If I go out into neutral over to the left and back, you'll see it puts me in reverse low. If I hit my splitter, it will then put me in reverse high. So that's the 2 reverse gears that it has. Now if I go back out of neutral, put my splitter into low, and I go up into the middle, you'll see it puts me into 1 low. If I hit my splitter, it will then put me into 1 high. Go back out of neutral, put my splitter into low and my range into high. Go back into the same slot, you'll see it puts me into 5 low. If I then hit my splitter, it puts me into 5 high. Now that may look a little confusing to you if you've never driven a truck, but it'll become clear as I go through the full shift pattern. Now if I go back out into neutral, hit my range into low and my splitter into low. If I go straight back into the middle, you'll see it puts me into 2 low. If I then hit my splitter, it'll put me into 2 high. If I go back out of neutral, put my splitter into low, my range into high, go straight back into the middle, you'll see it puts me in 6 low. If I hit my splitter, it puts me into 6 high. Back out into neutral, hit my range into low, and my splitter into low. If I go all the way over to the right and up, you'll see it puts me in 3 low. If I then hit my splitter, it puts me into 3 high. Back out in neutral, hit my splitter into low and my range into high, back into the same slot, puts me into 7 low. If I then hit my splitter into high, it puts me into 7 high. Back out in neutral, splitter into low, range into low, over to the right and back, puts me in 4 low. If I then hit my splitter, it puts me into 4 high. Back out in neutral, splitter into low, range into high, pull back into the right, puts me into 8 low. If I then hit my splitter, put me in 8 high. So you basically have 4 gears for each of your 4 positions for your 16 speeds, and then you've got your 2 reverse gears. So how you would actually run that is you would start out with your range in low and your splitter into low, and you would go straight up into the middle for your 1 low. You would get going, clutch out, and then clutch back in, hit your splitter, going into 1 high. You would then back out in neutral, hit your splitter into low, go straight back into 2 low, clutch in, hit your splitter, putting you in 2 high. You would then go back out in neutral, put your splitter into low, go over to the right and up, putting you into 3 low. You would then hit your splitter, putting you into 3 high. Back out on neutral, put your splitter into low, pull straight back to the right, putting you in 4 low. You would then hit your splitter, putting you into 4 high. Then you would go back out of neutral, put your splitter into low, put your range into high, go straight up into the middle, putting you into 5 low. You then hit your splitter, putting you into 5 high. Back out of neutral, put your splitter into low, pull straight back into 6 low. You would then hit your splitter, putting you into 6 high. Then go back out of neutral, put your splitter into low, go over to the right, putting you into 7 low. You would then hit your splitter, putting you into 7 high. Then go back out of the neutral, put your splitter into low, over, down, and to the right, 8 low. You would then hit your splitter, putting you in 8 high for your final gear. So you're basically running through the gear pattern twice with your range splitting it between the 2 different gears. So that's how the gear pattern works. Now we'll grab a load and get out on the road and show you how that actually works in action. Now I've grabbed a load and I've actually driven out onto the highway here just to show you how the gear pattern works in actuality. I'm hauling a T-Rex crane. It's pretty heavy. Now I will say that I couldn't actually find a ZF16 transmission in the game. I'm actually using the Mercedes Power Shift. Now, I looked thoroughly and I could not find a ZF16 transmission, so I'm not sure of why that is, but the gear pattern remains the same regardless of as long as it's a 16-speed transmission. Now, I will say too, I am not a big fan of this Mercedes PowerShift 16-speed. It's an absolutely terrible transmission. The reason I say that is the gear ratio is just terribly close together throughout the whole shift range, and it has no top end. And I use realistic fuel mileage, so it just burns through fuel. And also, because the gear spacing is so close, it actually makes hill transversal actually worse. When you would think that a 16 speed would actually make hill transversal better. Now, that's because you lose too much going up hills, and you actually have to drop a gear, which isn't such a big deal in ETS2, but if you had to actually do that in real life, that's actually a very dangerous situation, because sometimes it can be hard to find a gear when you actually have to back out of a gear. So anyway, that's my take on the PowerShift 16 speed. You may like it if you don't use realistic fuel mileage, if you aren't pulling a lot of heavy loads with a lot of hill transversal, you may like it, but I'm just not a big fan of it. But anyway, we'll get started on it here, and so we'll go into one low here. Go ahead and clutch out and get going. Now you'll notice how quick that gear. I'm at 4 kilometers and I'm already starting to get kind of revved out on this gear. So I'm going to hit my splitter. I'm going to clutch in. It's going to put me into 1 high. Hit my splitter into low. Clutch in. Back into 2 low. Going to hit my splitter. Now, if you notice, I am hitting my splitter before I actually shift. It's not going to shift it until I actually depress that clutch. So you can pre-select your splits. So now I've already selected it in 2 high, so I'm going to clutch in. It's going to put me into 2 high. Hit my splitter into low. Clutch in over to the right and up, putting me in 3 low. Put my splitter into high. Clutch in, putting me into 3 high. Put my splitter into low, clutch in, pull back into 4 low. Hit my splitter into high, clutch in, I'm into 4 high. Now, you'll notice I'm halfway through the gear range already, and I'm only at 17 kilometers an hour. It's just the gear ratio is far too small for this. So if I hit my splitter into low, put my range into high, clutch in, go up into the middle, puts me into 5 low. Hit my splitter into high, clutch in, putting me into 5 high. Gonna hit my splitter into low, clutch in, pull back into 6 low. Put my splitter into high, clutch in, putting me into 6 high. Splitter into low, clutch in into 7 low. Splitter into high. Clutch in, putting me into 7 high. Put my splitter into low. Clutch in, pull straight back into 8 low. Put my splitter into high. Clutch in, I'm into 8 high. Now, I'm in 8 high right now, and I am speeding, by the way. But if you'll notice, I'm coming up on 80, and I'm getting out of the 1500 RPM range, and that's not ideal for fuel mileage, and that's why I really do not like this transmission. It just eats up too much fuel. Now, of course, as you're going down the roads, you're going to be skipping gears, and you're not going to be running through every single one of them. And I'll actually show you that right now. But still, even when you're skipping gears, this transmission is just not a good transmission. So I'm going to go ahead and put my splitter into low, put my range into low, and I'm going downhill. Now I am hauling a T-Rex, which is pretty heavy, but I'm still going downhill, so I can start out in 3 low. Go ahead and clutch out and get going. Leave it in low, pull straight back into 4 low, hit my range up, go into 5 low, clutch in, go back into 6 low, clutch in, go into 7 low, hit my splitter into high, clutch in, putting me into 7 high, put my splitter into low, clutch in, pull back into 8 low, hit my splitter into high, clutch in, putting me into 8 high, and then I'll start chewing through the gas. So there you have it. There is the ZF16 transmission. I hope it helps you out, and I hope you enjoy the video. Happy trucking.